Percent and percent of change. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to answer the question, how do I calculate the percent a quantity changes? Percents are something that regardless of what job you get after high school, you will find many real-life applications of them. Whether you're shopping or calculating tax and tip at a restaurant, there are many, many different levels in which you're going to use percents. So remember that percent literally means per 100. So the first question is, 20 is what percent of 25? We are going to do this two different ways. First, I'm going to show you using a proportion. And a common proportion that will help you here is the proportion is over of equals percent over 100. So all you need to do is set up your proportion by identifying your key parts. So 20 is, I'm going to circle that. That's telling me that the 20 goes in the is spot. What percent means I don't know the percent, so I don't know what part out of 100, so I'm going to put x over 100. And of 25, that's my whole amount, or my of, is going to go on the bottom. And you should know how to solve a proportion. You're going to find your cross product equation, so I'm going to do 25 times x, it's 25x, equals 20 times 100 would be 2,000. That's my cross product equation. I will then divide both sides by 25, and I get x equals 80, and I just need to remember to put my label on this because it's 80%. That's one method. A second method is to use equations. Now what you have to remember with equations is that your percent is going to be in decimal form. So if you had something like 30%, you would put 0.3. 2% would be 0.02. All right. Some key things that will help you with equations is to know that is means equals and of means multiply. So in my question here, I see 20 is would be equals. The what percent, I don't know that, so that's going to be my variable, and of means multiply. All right, put that dot for multiplication. So if I just bring every key part straight down, 20 equals x times 25, well I'm going to write this as 25x, so it's a coefficient. And then I solve this equation. So I divide each side by 25, and I get 20 divided by 25 is 0.8 equals x. Now, if you remember what I said, it's going to be in decimal format. So to get my answer, what percent is this, you're going to move your decimal point 2 places to the right. So this would be 80%. So same question, done two ways. You, in real life, would be able to choose whichever method makes most sense to you. Right, so let's practice on your note sheet. Let's do 1 and 2 by proportions. So this is the is over of. Set up my proportion. What percent of 84 is 21? So my is would be the 21 of 84. 84 goes on the bottom. And again, I don't know my percent, so I'm going to be looking for that, so I have x over 100. Find your cross product equation. 84x equals 2,100, and then we divide both sides by 84 to isolate the variable, and this gives you x equals 25, and I just put the label on it because I don't need to change anything. It's in fraction form when it's in a proportion, 25%. Okay. Number 2, 70 is 28% of what number?
Pardon the interruption.
70 is 28% of what number? This time, 70 is the is. 28%, this time we're given the percent, so I'm going to put 28 over 100 because that's literally what 28% means. I don't know the of, the whole amount, so I'm going to put my variable in the denominator. Again, cross multiply. 28x equals 7,000. Divide each side by 28. Results in x equals 250. This is not percent. I wasn't looking for a percent. I was looking for the whole amount in this one. Okay. Now let's switch and try the next two using equations. So again, remember that in equations, we are going to have to change our percents to decimals. So I see what, that's my question, so I'm going to make that be x. Bring this down. Is means equals. 46%, change it to a decimal, would be 0.46, and of means multiply. So on your calculator, you just do 0.46 times 240. I get 110.4. That's by the equation method. Right? Let's do number 4 also by the equation method. 36 is 30% of what number? So 36 is means equals 30%. Change it to a decimal would be 0.30. I don't know the of means multiply, and I don't know what that number is, so I'm going to say times x. So 36 equals 0.30x. To solve this, to isolate x, I would divide each side by 0.30, which would result in x equals 120. And there's my answer. And again, I'm not looking for percent, so it's just 120. Now, as we go through some applications of percents, it would be up to you to choose which method makes most sense to you. It says, here's a shopping example. On Black Friday, Julia got a great deal on a TV sold by Amazon. The TV originally sold for $759.99. She purchased the TV for $304 less than the original price. Because of Amazon's deal, what percent of the original price was Julia able to save? Round to the nearest percent. I'm going to do this one using a proportion, and rather than saying is over of, I'm going to think about it in terms of a percent is part of 100, so it's going to be the part out of the whole amount equals my percent out of 100. So if you think, well, what part did Julia save? Well, we know she saved $304. That's not what she paid for the TV, it's what she saved. The original amount was $759.99. Out of, or what percent would this be if we just make this be x out of 100? So again, find your cross product equation. 759.99. X equals 30,400. Solve this by dividing each side by 759.99. If you do that, you get x is approximately, I get 40.0005 on my calculator, so x is approximately 40% off. That's what she's saving. The next example on your paper is an example of a circle graph. It's a real-life application of percents. It says how many students prefer soccer. So if you look at your circle graph, it tells you that 28% of the students. 28% of, well, how many students are there? It tells you up above that there are 1,200 students at this high school. So we need to find 28% of 1,200. I'm going to do this using an equation. I'm going to say x would be my number of students is equal to 0.28 of means times 1,200. So I'm just going to multiply 0.28 times 1,200, and I get 336 students. In the next one, it's the same circle graph, but it's asking you how many students prefer baseball. So in order to figure this out, you would have to first figure what percent prefer baseball. So you would have to add up all the percents that you see, 10, 28, I believe that's 16, 30, and 6, and then subtract that from 100. And actually, I believe that football is 15. So when I add that up, I get 89%. So if I do 100 minus 89, that gives me 11%. So I can see that the baseball sector is 11%. So I need to this time find 11% of the 1,200. So again, I'm going to do this one by an equation. So I'm going to do 0.11, got to change it to a decimal, times 1,200. And that is that's exactly 132 students prefer baseball. The second application we're going to look at here is percent of change. And what a percent of change is, it indicates how much a quantity increases or decreases with respect to the original amount. Percent of change can be the percent something increases or the percent that it decreases. If you're doing it by a proportion method, you would have to find the amount that it increases or decreases, and you would do this by subtracting. And always put the original on the bottom. If you're going to do proportion, you got to set it equal to x out of 100. If you do it by an equation, you would just do the amount of increase or decrease divided by the original, and then change it to a percent by moving your decimal point. Okay, let's illustrate this with an example. So an MP3 player originally priced at $90 is on sale for $72. Find the percent of the discount. So first of all, this is going to be percent of decrease since it dropped in price. To figure out how much it dropped, I would do 90 minus 72. Always put the original on the bottom, and if I'm going to make this a percent, I'm going to do x out of 100. So 90 minus 72, the price changes by $18, so I do 18 over 90 equals x over 100, and I solve my proportion. Cross product equation gives me 90x equals 1800. I'm going to divide each side by 90 to get an answer of 20% decrease because it dropped in price. If it increased in price, it would be a 20% increase. Okay, let's practice this. Find the percent of change from 75 to 100 minutes. So again, set up my proportion. I'm going to do 100 minus 75 to see how much the quantity changes. Original goes on the bottom, set it equal to x over 100. So this is 25 is to 75 as x is to 100. Find your cross product equation would be 75x equals 2500. It's a sloppy 5 there. Divide each side by 75. And that gives me 33.3 repeating would be 33.33% increase because it went up. Right? In 1999, a certain stock was worth $1.25 a share. In 2002, the same stock was worth 85 cents a share. What was the percent of change? So again, I've got to figure out how much it fluctuates in cost. So $1.25 minus 85 cents over what it was originally, which was $1.25, equals x out of 100. When I subtract, I get 40 cents over $1.25 equals x over 100. So I find my cross product equation. 125x equals 40. So then I divide each side by 1.25. And I get x equals 32%. And since it decreased or dropped in price, it's a 32% decrease in the price of the stock. So if you had invested money in that, you would have lost 32% of your money. And the final one says when Jim was exercising, his heart rate went from 70 beats per minute to 98 beats per minute. What was the percent of change? So to find how much it changed, I do 98 minus 70. Always put the original starting point. His heart rate was at 70 beats per minute when he started. So that goes on the bottom. And if I'm looking for percent, be x over 100. So I subtract and get 28 is to 70 as x is to 100. This gives me 70x equals 2,800. And then divide each side by 70 to get x equals 40%. This would be increase because, of course, as you're exercising, your heart rate is going to speed up. Right. You should now be able to find the percent that a quantity changes or calculate percents using any of the two methods that we discussed, either proportions or equations.